Hey, it's our first response video, and what am I arguing? I am arguing a case for buying out-of-print DVDs and Blu-rays on eBay, Amazon, Mercari. I don't know if you should do it on Craigslist, but basically I'm making a argument for why this isn't entirely a bad thing. Hey everyone, this is Kevin the Entrepreneur. Welcome to my media channel. If you are new here and you happen to like YouTube channels where we discuss physical media and streaming services, video games, all that jazz, click that subscribe button and ring that bell notification. We upload weekly, at the very least weekly, and we're working on updating more, but right now it's weekly. So anyway, this is kind of a response video to a YouTube channel that I do like, and it's called Films at Home. I want to preface this video by saying that I am going to be responding to something that I kind of disagree with, but I do like the channel. I do like the guy personally. I've never met him, but he's done nothing wrong to me. This is just a difference of opinion. And he made a video recently basically encouraging people to stop buying out-of-print movies and stuff on physical media on eBay for outrageous prices. And he made some very good arguments, I think, for not doing that for the most part. He did highlight certain titles like Mean Girls and stuff that people are routinely buying for $50 or more on sites like eBay, and pointed out that a lot of rare out-of-print movies that you pay a lot of money to get will usually be reissued at a later date at some point in time. And I actually kind of agree with that a little bit. I think we need to be a little bit more careful about what out-of-print Blu-rays and DVDs we buy. And I also agree with him that, hey, if you have something like Jackie Brown, which is selling for about $70 average on eBay right now, guys, it is a Quentin Tarantino movie. It will be remastered in 4K on Ultra HD. You might as well sell it now and reap the rewards and put the money towards the new release later on down the road, and still have some money left over. So these aspects of the video, 100% agree with. That being said, at the end he did say, well, he said this.
I think it's just about smart shopping and knowing what you're looking for. If you're looking for a super obscure horror movie that you know is probably never going to get the love it deserves, is not going to be a high selling item, then yes, you may have to dish out a little bit of money to add that to your collection.
And that begs the question, what are some of the movies that a movie connoisseur, a film buff, a cinemaphile should feel at ease buying on eBay if it's out of print, and which ones should you not? And I kind of want to address some of the titles he suggested, some of the things that I think is okay, but ultimately you're going to have to do your own research. This is kind of like a response / guiding tool, because unfortunately there are some titles where, yeah, the expensive prices are probably justified, and if you really want that thing, sooner might be better, because I don't see these things going down in price anytime soon. Now, the first thing that I want to actually respond to is Films at Home brought up a couple titles that were in the Criterion collection and that people would notoriously spend a lot of money for. The Man Who Fell to Earth and, well, the Third Man, titles like this. And his argument was not to buy super expensive Criterion titles because they almost always get released down the line by another company. We have seen this happen time and time again. I remember when the Criterion DVD of Ron went out of print because Kino Labor decided that they were going to release a Blu-ray of it. And yet the value of the Ron DVD has not really gone down. Now, why is that? Well, here's why it never went down in price, and here is why you might still want it if you fall into one of these categories. One, the special features on the Criterion Ron DVD, which Criterion is also known for their high-quality special features, obviously did not transfer to the Kino Labor. So if you want those special features, you got to buy that out-of-print DVD. But the other reason is because Criterion does something where, well, I don't know if you can see that, but they put like a little number there. This is 64, by the way. And if you're a hardcore Criterion fan, like I am, and you're aiming to eventually have a complete collection of the Criterion Collection, which I am, and am more than a third there, so I'm on my way, then you know what? Whether or not there's a cheaper option available, it frankly doesn't matter. I mean, it's for this reason that I have Parasite on both 4K and Criterion Blu-ray. I am obviously going to watch it in 4K because that Ultra HD disc is beautiful to watch, but I'm going to keep a copy of the Blu-ray from Criterion because I want the entire collection. So while I do agree that yes, if all you want to do is watch the movie, steer clear of an out-of-print Criterion title. It'll probably get reissued if it hasn't been reissued already. But if you are a collector of and want a whole set, then unfortunately paying a high price might be a necessary evil. Other out-of-print DVDs and Blu-rays that might be worth buying at higher than usual prices are, well, Disney and Pixar movies. And for a very specific reason. One, I think Disney is definitely moving on from physical media. Well, they pretty much announced that they don't want to do physical media anymore, except for like Pixar and Disney anime classics and some live-action movies that are part of franchises or happen to do a certain amount of money at the box office. They pretty much are not interested in physical media anymore. They just want to... Excuse me, I'm hiccuping now. They're just going to dump them on Disney Plus. So that might be one reason to buy older Disney titles on Blu-ray or DVD, because unfortunately there's really no guarantee that you're going to get them in a future disc for Ultra HD. But another thing is that some of these movies have been censored. Like I'm holding up Toy Story 2 in Blu-ray 3D, and yes, we'll obviously talk about the 3D. But this disc has a scene in the outtakes reel with Stinky Pete. Basically, it's a couch gag scene where Stinky Pete is offering two Barbies that he can get them in Toy Story 3 if they do him some favors. In light of the Me Too movement and John Lasseter's exit, they removed that scene. And here's the thing. I bought this thing like more than 10 years ago. Redeemed the digital code more than 10 years ago. The digital copy does not have that scene. Disney Plus doesn't have that scene. So if you want that joke, you're going to have to pay a lot of money for an older disc like this. Now, is it worth a whole lot more to get that joke? Who knows? That's personally up to you. The clip also floats on YouTube, obviously. But, you know, if you really want your Disney movies to be untouched, you might have to get older copies of the movies that are much more expensive and much harder to find, because the new copies, if they even make them, might not have the complete movie. Since we're talking about Disney and things missing from future releases, I would be remiss if I did not bring up The Simpsons Season 3. Now, this DVD set is notable because this is the season that had the Michael Jackson episode. It's considered one of the greatest Simpsons episodes of all time. But because of renewed allegations of Michael Jackson, which we were very well aware of long before that HBO documentary came out. I'm sorry, that annoys me so much that a new documentary comes out and things that we technically already knew is now news again. But whatever, I guess that's the world we live in. The Simpsons decided that they were going to remove the Michael Jackson episode. So it's not on Disney Plus. Can't buy it on iTunes, can't buy it on Vudu. If you bought it previously, you have access to it for now, but who knows when they will pull that. But on DVD, they're not going to go out and recall every single DVD. They're just not going to do that. If they ever reissue this thing or any future printings, it will not have that episode. So if you ever want to own the Michael Jackson episode of The Simpsons, you have to own this DVD. Which I, by the way, think is a scummy thing for them to do. I don't believe in their BS excuse about how this is their book and they're allowed to remove a chapter. But it is what it is. So when you see these start climbing up in prices, depending how much you like that episode, it might be justified to buy the set. Now, if there is one particular type of show and movie that is actually prime for buying old DVDs and Blu-rays because it's just a way of life, it's anime. Anime notoriously goes out of print, and it's rare. They rarely sell a whole lot of copies of certain shows. The licenses are being lost all the time, and most of the time, the series are lost. Like some out-of-print titles that are almost certain to never go back into print. You have Case Closed. This has the original Funimation dub. This is from Funimation. That's probably not coming back. Rumiko Takahashi Anthology, a cute little series that for whatever reason, Pioneer / Genion, they were known as Genion on this one, decided they were going to release it. Did not sell a lot of copies, obviously. They will never put it out on DVD. I would be very surprised if this ever got license rescued. And it's almost certainly never going to be on a streaming service. And then you have Don't Leave Me Alone, Daisy, which this show is awful. This is one of the worst shows I have ever seen. Believe me, I'm going to do a full-length review of it on my Failed Journalist channel. That said, if you do want it for whatever reason, DVD is probably the only way you can get it. They didn't even dub this thing. They hated it so much. Now, on a positive note, I should say this about anime. It's pretty much been widely understood that when an anime title goes out of print, it stays out of print, especially older titles. We have streaming services where we now get so much anime. Why would you license rescue old classic shows? Well, there is a label out there called Discotech Media, and they have actually been like a savior of sorts for anime titles that have long since gone out of print and whose licenses were considered lost to the ether. They have re-released Marmalade Boy and Orange County Road, and they're re-releasing City Hunter. They've gotten all of Lupin the Third. I even hear that they rescued Kadocha. Kadocha, of all things, that DVD, you can't find the season sets of those DVDs for less than a couple $100 now. And they have been rescued, and it's great that they're rescued, and I look forward to rebuying them. So if you have a specific anime title, or maybe two that you would like to see rescued in a license, Discotech Media will not do new dubs or anything like that, but they tend to rescue shows. They'll find the old materials, the old dubs, the old subtitles, and they'll put them on an affordable Blu-ray and DVD combo set, and it's usually much more affordable than what it used to be, and especially buying out-of-print DVDs. Unfortunately, the cycle does tend to repeat itself, though, because, again, anime is a very niche market, so certain titles that are evergreen are continually going in and out of print. In fact, just to reiterate a point that Films at Home was making, Tenshi Moyo. This has been an evergreen title for as long as I can remember. It has always had a fan base. And here's the other thing. It's always in and out of print. Pioneer brought it to VHS for a while, went out of print. Then they brought it to a 13-episode, 3-disc DVD, which was $120, and that actually seemed like a deal at the time. It went out of print. Then they did 4 standard re-releases on DVD. That went out of print. Then Funimation picked it up, Blu-ray DVD combo, now out of print. This thing is actually worth a couple $100. I paid $20 for it. And so then you have situations like this where it's like, I kind of understand where Films at Home is coming from. I should sell this because it's worth a couple $100, and it will probably be released at some point. But you can never actually be sure, and that's what's kind of bothersome about anime when these licenses expire. Like, unlike movies where, like, if Mean Girls goes out of print, you know Paramount will eventually re-release it at some point or put it on a streaming services. You do not have that sense of security with an anime title. So, I mean, ultimately it's at your own discretion, but there you go. Actually, while we're on the subject of anime, there's even some releases on DVD and Blu-ray that are very valuable and are probably worth finding, if only because the quality on the releases can be different. So, for example, let's bring up a show that will probably always be in print in America, Dragon Ball Z. This is the ultimate Blu-ray set. It's remastered, although it's remastered a little poorly. In fact, I know if any Dragon Ball Z fans are watching me holding this, you're probably like cringing that I have this. And for the record, I did not spend $800 on eBay. I did pre-order it. The way I justify doing that is, you know what, with all the various DBZ releases out there, it was very simple. It's like $350, get the whole thing, boom, done. No, well, this release is this many volumes and it costs $2,000, and this release is almost perfect, but it's missing these volumes, and, well, you have the level sets, and those were great, but they got canceled after 2 sets, and you know what? It's just simple, it's economic, it made sense. But I do understand what people have the problem with this, because this is unfortunately DNR'd, digital noise removal, and as a result, the episodes do not look the way that they should look, and they could definitely look better. And that means things like the Dragon Box, which, even though it's on standard DVD, that actually is a proper restoration. It has the film grain, it looks fantastic, and it's right now the best way to watch the show. Those DVDs are out of print though, they go for hundreds of dollars. You're going to be spending at least $1,000 or $2 to get the whole set. But if you're a really hardcore fan of Dragon Ball Z and you want to watch it in the best way possible, this isn't it. It's these out of print DVDs. For that matter, there's another DVD set called the Dragon Ball Z Rock the Dragon set, and that's basically a DVD collection of the very original Dragon Ball Z dub by Ocean Studios. Edited, it's what you saw on TV. It's the dub that they do not follow at all anymore, but they kind of released the set in limited quantities for hardcore fans who wanted that. They did not keep it in print for very long, therefore prices of that set do skyrocket, and if you really want that particular version of Dragon Ball Z, I don't think they're going to re-release that one, so that might be the best chance you have. Getting away from animation, kind of, a little bit, if there is another type of, disc that if you don't have these and you really, really want them, the high prices might be justified. It's, this. Not specifically Doctor Strange. We're talking about the Blu-ray 3D. 3D TVs, I think, got a bad rap. I think the industry botched the release. I think people ultimately would have come around to it had maybe they premiered it with like a universal set of glasses and, well, it looked a little better. It's kind of a shame because the 4K OLED TVs that had 3D options with those were just so nice looking, and had they started out that way, maybe people would have been more receptive. But a lot of these Blu-ray 3D movies are now out of print, obviously, and they didn't make many copies in the first place, and it seems very unlikely that they will print them again. So movies like Doctor Strange and Blade Runner 2049 and Arthur Christmas, and even recently, Croods: A New Age. These are all 3D titles. I love them all. I will watch these in 3D. A lot of them are really expensive on eBay, and I think it's like, well, if you want it in 3D and you want them to re-release it, you're going to be waiting for a very, very long time, and as a result, they're only going to go up in value the more people covet them, and the less there are available. So it's one of those things where if you have certain 3D titles that you want to add to your collection, add them now, you might not get another chance. And then you have those DVD and Blu-ray sets that are truly unique, truly special, and they will probably never be re-released. And even if they are re-released, I don't think the re-release would diminish the value of the discs. And for my first exhibit, it's Walt Disney Treasures. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about this. I made a whole video series on my other channel. I'll put a little card up there so you can go watch the playlist. I've talked about all these sets. And these are wonderful sets. These are vintage Disney cartoons and TV specials and movies that are not exactly mainstream, or maybe they are mainstream, but now they're in an uncut, uncensored form. They had introductions by Leonard Maltin. Each set was individually numbered. These are very rare and very nice, and these things are only going to continue to go up in value. And I'm holding up this particular one for a reason, and it's not because it's my favorite. It really isn't. It's because for this, they did re-release it on Blu-ray, and it didn't matter. This is still worth hundreds of dollars, while this is worth less than 20. Now, there's a few reasons for that. One, not a very big property. Dr. Sin, the Scarecrow of Romney March, not exactly big, but also this Blu-ray, which ironically was a Disney Movie Club exclusive, so in a strange way, this might become valuable too. This is in a cropped widescreen format. This is in the 4:3 original aspect ratio. This is colorized. This is the original black and white. This is the theatrical movie version. This is the individual TV episode. So, there's reasons why that this did not impede the value of this, but Walt Disney Treasures and special sets like that might be considered too hot for today's culture, those you're probably fine spending a little bit more money on DVD, because the likelihood of them being re-released in this format is very unlikely. I do want to also add that this was a gift from a subscriber and Patreon member, and I'm sure he's getting a little annoyed with me using this as a punching bag, but I do want to assure him that I do appreciate the gift. The reason I have not gotten rid of it is because I do appreciate that you sent it to me. It's just, it was a perfect example, so sorry. I do like the gift, though. And then, of course, we're going to end on, well, collector sets. I mean, sometimes you're just a stupid big fan of a movie, like stupid big fan, and you want this lavish collector set that was only made in limited quantities. You can no longer get it, and thus you have to spend a lot of money. Well, in this particular case, it doesn't matter how much it costs to you. You just have to have the ultimate edition of Singing in the Rain, or Ben-Hur, or the Fast and the Furious collection, or a Harry Potter set. Like, these are the sets that, are just so... They just look great. It's not even about the movie. Like, look, I can get Singing in the Rain for like $10 on Blu-ray. I can. Why am I spending $70 on this? Because this. Look, lavish book, big case, individually numbered. Like, these are things that, yeah, okay. If I'm not a huge fan of the movie, buy the $10 disc, move on. But if you're a huge fan of the movie and you want something very substantial and collectible, well, then you might just have to go to eBay if you missed the boat to get it. Now, those are all the examples I can think of right off the bat. But I do also want to add to one thing that he probably forgot to mention. Because some people, one of the reasons these discs sell for a lot of money is because they don't want to wait for the new remaster. So what you do in the meantime? Well, I guess the first thing I would always do before I put down a lot of money on a DVD set is first, honestly, check to see if it's on a streaming service. Most of the time, you would be surprised that you can find the movie on Tubi or Pluto or even Netflix. And heck, you could even check Netflix's DVD selection. Sometimes they're still renting out the movie. And if all you want to do is watch it, there's usually an option where you can stream it. This is where paying the $10 for a streaming service comes in very handy. Yeah, it's more of a rental, but how many times are you going to watch that movie? I do agree with that point. But otherwise, for the examples I've listed, sometimes there's just simply no choice. The DVDs and the Blu-rays on the third-hand market are the way to go. They will probably continue to go up in value, and sometimes I think you have to look at like the bigger picture. I do agree that most standard movies will be re-released, but when it comes to like TV shows that ban episodes, or Disney censoring their movies, or an anime license being lost, or heck, sometimes even just special features are different across discs, and certain DVDs have a special feature that you really want to have that future editions do not have. I mean, that's why people still hold on to their 1997 or 8 DVD of Space Jam. It's a pretty poor DVD by today's standards, but it has the I Believe I Can Fly music video from R. Kelly, something that I don't think will be on any future re-release of Space Jam for, well, obvious purposes. So anyway, hopefully you liked this video. Hopefully you liked Films at Home's video as well. Hopefully you watched them both. Hopefully you subscribed to both and liked us both and commented both. And I will see you next time. If you liked this one, you know the drill. Like, favorite, share, subscribe, ring that bell, flame responsibly. Have a good one.